You've overcome hurdles and mountains in publishing your work. And now you're sitting at a book signing table and you're about to write an inscription in your book. And one single line can make you balk. What are you going to write? Hey there, I'm leahtlind, author of the Canadian Reminiscence series. In this video on pen to paper, we're going to get a little bit more personal, and I'm going to talk about something that maybe you haven't really heard talked about. And it's a very, very specific thing that is kind of necessary when you're writing inscriptions in your book after publishing. And it's exactly, what do you inscribe in your book? I had a friend who recently just published her short story novella, and we were trying to come up with ways or sayings of what she could inscribe. So I'm going to share with you today a little bit of how I go about coming up with my inscriptions, how we kind of helped her with hers. Now, I can't speak to every single genre because I think, or from what I could tell, there are two different ways you could go about this. There's the one road where you could just but you could write a very generic description, like best wishes, or I hope all your dreams come true, or something to that magnitude, which of course the person receiving your book and your inscription will be like, oh, that's nice, but it's not very memorable. And I believe that an inscription to a reader is one of the means and ways that you can make it very memorable and personal. So I said there were two ways, but actually I'm going to go with it with three ways. So there's that way, the generic way. There's also the way in which you can come up with an inscription that you could write in every single book and it would still mean someone to everyone. And that would be an inscription that goes along with your theme or goes along with the tone of your book, but that something is thoughtful and interesting that they're going to think about and be like, oh, that's different from just a generic description, or I should say inscription. And the last road you can take, which you can only kind of really take this road if you're at a book signing itself and then you're actually having a conversation with someone who's interested in buying your book, is you could write the inscription you come up with, but also put in something that they've spoken about with you, shared with you, that you've both found a love and passion for, something that brings you two together. And that is an even more special way to make yourself memorable. Now, I'm going to share a little bit of how I've come up with my inscriptions, and how I go about thinking about it. And then I'm going to share how it was a little different helping my friend because she has a different genre and a different style. And basically, it's not going to be all the same. There's not one size fits all. You're going to have to play around with it. But all I'm asking you to do is to really put some thought and personal touch into your inscription. Don't get an AI to come up with it for you. I know how easy it is to use ChatGPT or any other AI software at the moment to come up with these small little pieces for us that are extra on top of our writing. I do use it for some things, but when it comes to something this personal, it's something that I would really like to have a touch in. If you like writing tips and advice every week on Thursdays or Wednesdays, but most of the time Thursdays, I put out a video like this. So go ahead, click like button and subscribe down below for more weekly content and come up with myself. So what I've done for my three books. For my first book, Redeemed from the Ashes, I like to go with themes because I want the theme in my book to really come out and touch the reader in a way that hopefully they can incorporate into their lives or encourage them or just uplift them in some way. So because the theme in Redeemed from the Ashes is redemption, pretty easy to remember, I put my inscription to the effect of, now, one other thing that I do with my inscriptions is I personally tend to like them as if I'm blessing that person through the reading of this book. So I wrote, may you always remember that redemption is never out of reach. And this is something that my character Evelyn needs to learn in the book. And I wrote it in such a way that I think a lot of people can get meaning from it, because how many of us feel like we're not worthy of redeeming our past or redemption because we've done something so heinous that we can't forgive ourselves or forgive others for. So that's something that I really wanted to put together that I felt fit the theme well and also helps the reader perhaps in their own journey in life. The second one that I did, which is Wisps of Gold, is may your heart find rest in the treasure that never fades. And because gold hunting and treasure hunting is a big theme in that one, but treasure that doesn't, that is not material, treasure that is the truths of life, and hopefully that's something that encourages them. Now, in my last book that I wrote, which is Unborn Melody, which is my latest one that came out last February, I put together not so much a blessing this time, but an encouragement and an uplifting message of helping us to choose to love. So in it, I write, what do I write now? I write, the world will change when one person at a time we choose to love. And really just kind of touching on that theme of unconditional love. So that's how I've come across, or how I've made my book inscriptions, just really going with theme. But my books lend itself to that. I have a lot of themes and they're a little bit more serious. They're not comedy. Now, my friend, on the other hand, this past weekend, we brought our books to her and we wanted them to sign it. We wanted her to sign it. And she said, well, I haven't really thought about what I want to sign. And so I thought, well, you could go with the theme in your book, although it didn't really quite work. And so hers lends itself to more comedic banter. And so another friend and I really kind of helped her come up with maybe 2 or 3 little sayings that she could write, and she chose to write one of them. So that's how I would suggest coming up with this little line that could maybe get you to pause and wonder, oh great, what am I writing? I could write something very generic, or I could come up with something meaningful. And then once you've come up with a meaningful inscription, something that I really highly suggest you do, or just to develop this habit, is that when you are doing book signings and you're having conversations with readers, or at least I hope you're having conversations with readers, unless it's very, very busy and you're just swamped with signing, which I wonder what it's like. I mean, I've had, a few minutes of those, but not to the effect that I couldn't talk with anyone. So I hope you are conversing with your readers, and when you are, try to remember something special about them, or perhaps maybe it's the first impression you received of them and it was a good first impression. So when you write down your inscription, then make that even more personal than just the personal, thoughtful inscription you've come up with. You can add that into your inscription, but then perhaps in the inscription you can add, thank you for making my day, thank you for talking to me during my book signing, you made me laugh, or I really love your humor, take care, pray for you during your surgery, something like that, so that they really remember you. Because remember, this writing books and publishing books is not about just the money. Yes, you want to make a living off of it. Yes, it's a business. Yes, you need to market. But let's not lose that relational, individual, community aspect of it. So that is what I want to encourage you with today. I hope that perhaps my suggestions have been helpful. What you do for your inscriptions, I would love to know. If you are a published author, then do you go the generic way? No judgment there either. I'm just giving you a little hint as to how you could make yourself more memorable, or just foster that connection with your readers. And if you do have a more meaningful, if you have a meaningful inscription, then what is it? I would love to hear you share yours in the comments below. That's it for today. That's it for my little discussion, but I will see you next week with some more writing to